All right. So I was told not to bring my grocery store complaints to the stream, so I will save those for my personal my personal stream next time I go.
Save it for your gurnal. Yeah, it's like a journal, but for girls. Your gurnal.
The fact that you had to explain that was, I think, took a lot
Normally,
of the mustard off that one.
if you normally have to explain the joke,
Still funny to me. I'm still laughing.
Oh my goodness. Uh, yeah, no, it was a weird weird interaction that I was probably very what's the word I'm looking for?
salty,
Salty, but
Dickish.
irrationally upset about. I was irrationally upset about it, but that's not a big deal. But yeah, we're on the wrong lead here. We have a full house for the first time in, I don't know, how long has it been since we've gotten all four of us on live stream at the same time? We almost had it the other week when I was in Vegas. I was in Vegas and I made it, and then Caleb decided that he needed to make $10,000 that weekend.
You were close. It's good to have the squad back.
And it looks like Dennis finally reclaimed his spot as the first person in chat. So congratulations, Dennis. You beat everybody. And he's drinking tequila.
Big shout out to Keep Pounding.
Yeah, big shout out to Keep Pounding. Big shout out to Ratchet Rachel. Big shout out to the Venetian. Who else are we shouting out? Big shout out to Road Warrior, who tweeted at us before Dennis did. So, Dennis, you're back on the bottom of the list.
Big shout out to also the wrestler, the Road Warrior, who I don't think watches the stream, but probably would enjoy it if he did.
Weren't they? Wasn't it a tag team, the Road Warriors? Isn't that who it was? It was like Animal and some other guy.
Yeah, one of them is Laurinaitis, James Laurinaitis, that played at OSU. And
Caleb, you grew up in West Virginia. Like, that's like prime wrestling country right there. You should know all this.
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Shout out to John Massey because he says no love.
Big shout out to John Massey.
Still probably the biggest, the best response we've gotten to a non on the wrong lead person on Saratoga Daily. So shout out to John Massey.
And his awesome nickname, Sweet Sassy John Massey.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that is nice. That is nice. But so everyone got bailed out by that last race today, huh?
Yep, pretty much.
Yep. No.
Oh, you know?
just you guys. No.
It's just like when we all had Minute Mouse in the tournament.
Yeah, except
for this time I'm the.
Except this time you're Mark.
Except this time you're Mark.
Yep.
We can talk about how you gave out that bomb on last Sunday in the last. I mean, does that make you feel better?
Yeah, that helped me out too.
Which Sunday? You'll have to specify.
That 9 horse in the last race, right? Wasn't it?
That 9 horse in the last race
on
Sunday.
That was yesterday.
Okay, yesterday. I'm sorry.
There was another one too. I don't know. I don't remember. Like I said, it's just been a whirlwind couple weeks at the spa for me.
Yeah, you've been tearing it up. I know we talked a little bit about it on the podcast. So the Wolf has been hot. I know people in the Discord have been tailing Wolf picks like they're going out of style.
That's because they are. They certainly have an expiration
but yeah, it seems like everyone's at least kind of somewhat turned it around here. I know probably about 2 weeks ago, I think we were all talking each other off the edge because everybody was just having a terrible time. But I think everyone at least has had some bit of success here the past couple weeks. So,
what's actually what turned the corner for me is that every night after I finish capping the card before the next day, me and Sweet Sassy John Massey just go through it, and he's not taking my opinion, I'm not taking his, but it's making me like slow down and really kind of look into the finer points of these things. And I've been able to find just some great horses after him and I just bouncing what we're seeing off of each other. He's been an asset for sure.
Yeah, I was reminded multiple times by someone who's going to remain nameless, that the extensive shout outs to Keep Pounding has really turned around my handicapping. Um, Obviously, this is coming from an anonymous source, but
Starts with a K, ends in a eat pounding.
but yeah, no, I was just thinking about it right now because I know we talked a little bit about your success, guy, on our podcast. But yeah, everyone's been putting in some solid work, I think, this past couple of weeks. So hopefully we'll be able to give out a couple winners here, help you guys out a little bit, and hopefully you guys will be able to help me out and make sense of some of this stuff too, because really this is just a way for me to pick your guys' brain. So we're gonna look at Saratoga's card this week. Gonna do something kind of different, but not really. It's still gonna be similar to what we've been doing here. And guys in the chat, let me know if you guys are able to see this okay here. I got an Excel spreadsheet up. I'm going to kind of just keep track of horses we talk about, and maybe if I need to, I'll make some notes and stuff on here. But we end up talking about all these horses, and then like next thing you know, we talk through and we're like, well, who did we pick? So I just kind of got a spreadsheet up that way to keep track. And I haven't, I know before I've had Brisnet up. I haven't really been using Brisnet probably for about 2 or 3 weeks now. So I just had it up more for show, just so you guys can follow along. But it was just kind of difficult for me to actually go to my actual past performance and scroll through Brisnet at the same time. So I don't really think we were getting much out of it. So I just went ahead and we got a grid up here. Oh my goodness, why am I blanking on his name? Ed DeRosa. There we go. I'll add DeRosa here, and we got our ABC grid, which is, I know how most of us who play horizontals like to bet them. So we're gonna go through race 3 first, which it doesn't really connect to much. It connects to the early, but as far as the other 3 races we're going to talk about, the other 3 races do make up a pick 3. So we'll kind of have some kind of pseudo tickets out there. And then if we have time at the end, I know, Chase, you got to drop kind of early. So if Mark and Kayla, if you guys want to stick around, maybe we can talk through some of the stuff, and maybe, talk if the race was, in an hour, what we would do. Obviously, we are expecting some weather. Mark, I know we talked offline, and you mentioned that you are expecting weather, so you're handicapping from a wet perspective on the dirt, and that races 3 and 9 stay on. So
His perspective is always wet. First, let's clear that up.
Wet ass perspective.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's what.
So is his jump
I always
shot.
wonder what Cardi B was saying about. No, okay, we'll workshop that one. But yeah, so I'm gonna kind of keep track of what we talk about here. But we're gonna start with race 3 here, the Saranac. We're gonna go a mile. Wait, is this another one? Is this where John Clendon lives?
It is not.
No,
it is not.
Saranac sounds like a town outside of Saratoga.
It is. It's right in the middle of the Adirondacks. There's a lake. There's a town.
So yeah,
there's
so
a
the town
couple-
that John Clendon's from. Okay, cool. I was there. Anyways, so grade 3, we're going a mile on the inner turf. Do they have any rail settings for this? I'm not seeing it in my PPs.
The rail settings will probably change before Saturday, so I wouldn't get too set on what they're going to end up being. For these big stakes days where you have a lot of turf races, obviously both features are on the inner. I would assume that you'll have no rail for this because they tend to prefer to run it that way if possible for big days.
Yep. So so we got a mile on the inner turf for 3-year-olds. We got a couple of interesting horses here. I know I have like 3 horses I think here that I really like. But Mark, why don't we'll give you home field advantage here. Why don't you go ahead and start off?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this race, I'm going to try to keep it fairly simple in here. I'm not going to be super spready here, and I'm going to get it pretty aggressive. I really, really like this one Vanzi. Horse, if you are somebody, I've been playing around a little bit lately using time form figs for specifically for turf races. And this horse, the figure in that Jersey Derby came back absolutely huge and looks like a horse that's really taken to or really improved a lot since they moved this one to the turf. Has gotten better all three of its last starts, and if it runs back to that last figure, or doesn't even need to actually run all the way back to it, probably beats these fairly easily. I like horses, especially if they draw the rail on turf at a mile. They need to have some early tactical speed to be able to get a nice position. I think this one can. And I think this probably ends up being my lone A in here, and I get a fairly decent price at it. So it's one that if I can get anywhere near that morning line of 7-2, I will be trying to win bet this one. And it's obviously, and the other thing, you're getting, a very nice jockey upgrade, getting Rosario from Paco Lopez. And this horse has also beaten a lot of the other players in here, albeit the players that are the other ones that beat are kind of prices in here. But I really like Vanzi quite a bit, who was geared down late in the last.
I actually don't like Vanzi. So, and it looks like people are already complaining that I don't have the PPs up. So I'll get those up in a second after I get done talking here. I have Vanzi. I listed them down as a C, which I normally don't play C's. And I honestly think I just did it because I don't want to lose. I don't want to say I don't have this horse anywhere, but that's probably me just being a wuss. So I'll just toss this horse. Because I'm not really a big fan of it. Oh, I deleted C on accident though. I was interested in 3 other horses. The first one is going to be the 5 Don Juan Kitten. Is coming out of Allowance Company, a nice allowance win at a mile on the inner turf, and I think that figure is pretty competitive with the rest of the field. I think that might be the best last out buyer. Yeah, it looks like it is the best last out buyer. So if Don Juan Kitten can repeat kind of what he did last time out, I think he's going to be tough to beat here. It's going to be on the same course. Is going to be pretty forwardly placed, and I think it's just going to work out a decent trip here. The other horse that I did like a bit is the 10 Bodie Cream. I'm going to say this, but we know this isn't going to happen. Just in case there's a lot of pace up front, which we already know is not going to happen because it's New York. But I really like Bodie Cream coming from deep off of it. Has got the barn change, is going to Mike Maker, and gets a rat aboard. This seems like this horse is primed to make a move forward. And if he runs back to his figure, I think that he ran up in the black gold, he's going to be really competitive in this field. So I really do like the 10 here, Bodie Cream. And then another horse I'm going to use, I really like here, and this is probably me just, betting blind speed as usual, even though Mooch isn't aboard. The 6 Big Dreaming has the best early pace figures out of the rest of the field. And with how non-aggressive horses have been ridden, if Lascano, gets up there, this horse might get a little brave and, maybe has a shot at wiring it. Dreaming of Anna was a really, really nice horse. Won on both surfaces, and it's a dam of Big Dreaming. And I really think that this horse is just going to improve. So I'm going to go ahead and use Big Dreaming just mostly off a pace perspective. This is probably more of a B. I do have a mark down as an A here, but I think I would just probably more of a B or a C type, to be honest with you. But I really do like the 5 and 10 best. And obviously the other horse that I'm going to use defensively as a B probably is going to be this 4. French horse shipping in for Chad Brown. I mean, this is the type of horse that freaking beats you all the time. So I'm going to use this horse as a B, and we'll see how the horse has been working. The times look okay, but we'll see what the clocker reports kind of say on this horse. But I think I'm going to end up here with the 5 and 10 as my A's and a 6 as a B. 4 and 6 as a B.
Yeah, Shu, I know. I've come over to the dark side on the turf races.
And y'all already talked about most of the fun horses. So yeah, I don't like this race at all. It's just there's nobody in here who excites me. All the horses that are in here have some angle one way or another that I hate. Either it just broke the maiden, or it's one of these Monmouth, Laurel, Delaware shippers, or it's a dirt horse trying turf for the first time because they don't know what to do with it. Talking about U3 technique. A Chad Brown horse that comes out of nowhere that looks okay. So I don't know. Like, I don't like the race. I agree with one.
Folks, if Caleb doesn't like this race, fucking buckle up for the sword dancer.
Oh yeah, this is a much better race than the sword dancer. Clearly, I kind of agree with Mark. Like, really, like, in full disclosure, I haven't looked at thoroughgraphs yet, and that will dramatically sway my opinion. But yeah, I guess the one has the right kind of tractable run style with the jock, that you probably want. So the one probably makes sense. The other horse I would have as an A, I think, that we haven't talked about would be this 9 horse, Embolden. They really tried this horse, sprinting for a long time. And he seemed to take to sprinting, fine. He was a decent turf sprinter. If you look back, I mean, he lost a 4-wheel drive by 3 lengths as a 2-year-old, and then lost by, a length and a half or so to Jack and Noah, who both are very respectable, turf sprinters right now. They tried him on the dirt, and he didn't do poorly in the Springboard Mile, and then made his first start in a long layoff last out, and a small field, but he kind of just ran like a horse that might need one. He's definitely testing some of the deeper waters here, and still not sure that a mile is going to be his best game, but he ran a respectable enough fig at the mile last out. And, to me, Largen's a nice horse, the horse that beat him in that race. And he was 2.5 clear of the horse in third. So I don't know. I want a horse that's forwardly placed here. I don't want a dead closer. I think this horse can get involved early, probably won't be on the lead. And you have probably the best turf jockey in Naira right now with Jose. So, I'd probably lean to Embolden and then the 1, but this is not a race I particularly care for.
So Caleb, I got to ask in here. Considering you love to beat up on the Mid-Atlantic shippers, you picked a horse who's got 3 starts at Colonial, a Remington Park on the dirt start, Monmouth start. What's the world coming to?
It's rough. Like, if you throw out the Atlantic circuit, that pretty much leaves you with the Chad Brown horse and Don Juan Kitten, who both of which I'll probably use, just not as A's, because every other horse is leaving some bullshit Arlington, Monmouth, Delaware, Colonial kind of race, or just looks kind of hopeless, like maybe this, like 11 or someone who's racing on the local circuits. So, yeah, like to me, it's the lesser of all evils, I guess.
No, I would agree. And I think I'm going to use the 1 as a single A, but every horse that everybody mentioned is very likely to be a B on my ticket. I think, and you could go even deeper in here. I mean, if you can get around some of the logical favorites and you're looking for that horse that can step up here, there's most of the field has that ability to, they could step up, and, you're seeing a lot of surface switches, changes in distance, all sorts of stuff, the European shipper, who I really don't like for Chad, but there's, you can go a lot of ways in here. And I do very much, I know I wasn't going to pick on Josh's Big Dreaming. I really do like that horse quite a lot in here. I think with the passive Naira Jock colony, there's a chance that horse could just get sent. Lascano could get clear and come play Catch Me If You Can. And we've seen a couple of real stupid pace setups, and you put a little water into the ground. It might be very, the turf might be, you might carry well.
So I'm happy that, the horse that I really like here, that I'm going to talk about because you guys talked about all other 10 horses in the race. So to get it out of the way, I thought this was a race where you very much needed a spread, and I ended up with 4 A's, the 1, 2, 4, and 11, and backed it up with 2 B's, the 7 and 10. The horse that I'm actually really interested in and really excited about in this race is going to be the 11 Turn of Events, the Mike Maker for Three Diamonds Farm. Uh, Broke its maiden last out, but you also look back in the history and you see that the horse was entered in the Palm Beach at Gulfstream before breaking its maiden. Um, you guys did not say the magic word of the jock that's going to get out there and be aggressive on the lead, especially on the turf. And this has been something that I've been doing really well with lately. Is that this jock getting this ride, and it's Saez, sorry, getting
You
out
were
there
thinking of
and
Thace, weren't you?
maybe. But what I think it's got going for it, especially if what Mark says is true and the temporals are down, that early speed from far outside posts has been carrying and doing extremely well. It clears really easy. I feel like it's got a great angle into the first turn, and can set moderately honest fractions and have been kicking clear. We saw a couple days last week, the week before, where you got a little bit of water on the track, and the early speed really carried. This is a lot more water. I'm okay with that, but I'm okay with making myself okay with it at 20 to 1. I feel like there's not any horse that's necessarily going to be on the lead, and so you very much have to play the jockey game and say, okay, who's actually going to give it that aggressive ride? And I feel like this is the horse, and a 20 to 1, I can't pass that up. I would win bet that horse at anything greater than 10 to 1 or greater, and I would almost guarantee goddamn I get that price. So, very spread out for this race, but love that horse and definitely want to use it as an A going through.
I bet
So
you'll get.
I feel like I'm getting deja vu here. There was a race that Cross Border won. There were two makers entered, and the one horse was also a maker horse. Who was that? It was
Arzo.
Marzo. You guys both liked Marzo. You guys thought that Marzo was live, and Marzo ended up being a rabbit. I kind of have a feeling that that's what 11's going to be. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Maker's taken a page out of Chad's book and knows that the 10 needs some pace to run into, and I think he's going to send the 11. But I mean, this also could be one of those Aiden O'Brien moves where he enters the rabbit, but the rabbit also has a chance to win. It's not just there to just run and get tired out. But yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you, Chase, that 11's going to get sent and 11's going to go. 11's got Sayas. It's his only option. But I think that 11 is also going to try and set this up a little bit for the 10.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't necessarily love horses that, take 8 starts to break their maiden and they have to drop into a maiden 40 and then they're going to turn them right back into graded stakes. I mean, this has got to be a rabbit. I don't see anywhere around it. Maybe the horse gets brave, but this one would be a shocker, and I think you're going to get every part of that 20 to 1.
Shock the world, Chase.
I shoot out the world.
So, Mark, I have you down as 1 being your lone A, and I have nothing else. How else did you kind of see this one?
You guys, I think, mentioned. I think 1 Vanzi is my lone A. Don Juan Kitten is a B, Big Dreaming is a B, and then probably Embolden is a B. Those would probably be my 3 Bs. And then I honestly don't think I want to go any deeper than those. So 1 by 3 or 1 over 3.
And Caleb, you got 1 and 9 as A's?
Yeah, I got 1 and 9 as A's, and I mean, this will probably change between now and Saturday. But for the point of now, I have 4, 5, and 10 as B's.
Yeah, and this isn't really in our, I figured we'd just kind of give that out, but obviously with weather, this is all subject to change.
Did you get my A's and B's? Do you need those?
I did 1, 2, 4, 11 as A's and 7 and 10 as B's. I got yours because you articulated them perfectly, and you're the best. All right, let's take a look at chat here. Road Warrior says it's really effing stupid considering different owners. That it's not fair to Three Diamonds Farm. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of gentleman's agreement when that kind of stuff happens. I mean, you'd think there has to be.
I'd also say if, they're not expecting a lot out of a horse that they had to drop to maiden 40 to get a win and no one took away from them. So Three Diamonds has a lot of horses. They were obviously okay losing this one for a tag. They're throwing him in a graded stakes and, whatever happens. They're probably okay with that horse being used as a rabbit because Maker has probably 100 other horses.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The other Maker, this 10 horse that a few of us like, it looks like a private purchase sometime this year by Ripple Stable, and goes to Maker. Just an interesting turn of events there. This horse I like this horse actually in that last race at Churchill, and he ran up the track that day. But it is interesting to see kind of where he ends up with the new ownership group and the new trainer and a guy, and they throw him immediately into a grade 3. It seems like a horse that they had a plan for.
Yeah, it looks like I looked on DRF and it says that he was they bought him for $50,000 at a Horses of Racing Age sale. So bought him from Danny and got him from Danny Pish to Mike Maker. And that's like, isn't that a Maker move? Like grabbing a horse that was running in like allowance or optional claimers, and then just being like, let's just go ahead and run him into the graded stakes,
and then throwing him in for what
looks long on the turf,
way over their head. No, on the turf he did it with Marzo.
Aquaphobia, who we'll see later.
Yeah, that damn horse.
All right.
Yeah, and to answer Dennis's question about the 5 founder in the 6th race, the 5 founder. I like that horse. Horse is super usable. That race came up really tough. There's a lot of really impressive ones. I don't think the purchase price is something that I pay attention to it, but I've never seen a massive correlation between big purchase price and horses being super high quality horses. And quite honestly, with the track probably coming up wet, I don't think that's the one of the there's 3 or 4 others I would prefer in there.
If this by some like stroke of like just crazy luck does get taken off the turf, I mean, it starts and ends with the 3, right?
We're
in race 3 here.
Yeah.
Like 3 technique. I would think it begins and ends with a conversation about I'm a Pharaoh, the Pletcher MTO that's in here. Obviously Maiden Breaker last out, but that one ran, arguably a better dirt race than 3 techniques run some pretty good races. Yeah, probably does.
I mean, a mile in the mud at Oak Lawn, which is just always muddy anyways. Probably ran his best race. So
the other thing you could have here is your horse turn of events would make some sense on the dirt if this gets rained off as well. A lot of Tomlinson's, obviously the one time it got rained off didn't run super well, but it looks like there was some jock issues there. So that might be Maker dropping one in here thinking there's a chance this gets taken off and he wants to take a shot with a horse that you think might be good on dirt.
On to the next one.
Yep. All right, we got
and also Josh should plug the Discord tournament for tomorrow.
Oh yeah, in case you guys haven't heard, we do have a Discord tournament tomorrow. Is it $55 buy-in?
$5 buy-in, win place every race at Saratoga, winner take all.
Winner take all if there's 5 entrants, and I think after like 6 to 10, I think it's 70-30, and then I think past 10 it's something like 60-30-10 or something.
Yeah, there's already 7 entries, so it'll be like right now it's like what 70-30 first second is what it pays out. So.
Yeah,
I very well make again as well. So yeah, I would imagine we're gonna probably be over that 10 number.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I haven't entered yet either. I
haven't either.
Yeah, so we'll probably be right at 10, around 10. So we'll have a pretty decent pool. We'll probably have like $600-$700 in there. So so yeah, if you need the info, you can hit us up or go on Discord. And it's just straight whatever horse tourneys horse tourneys dollars. So
Yeah, I think actually she was able to get us a better rate than their normal takeout rate as well.
yeah, I think like 10% or 10% instead of like 11.5 or 12, whatever they take normally. So, but let's take a look at race 7, the Amsterdam Grade 2, 6 furlongs on the dirt for 3-year-olds. Chase, what did you ended the last one? We're gonna bring you on the mound to start this one off. What do you see here?
To me, it looks like a race between two horses. I honestly, for one, I'm used to seeing the two speed horses kind of dual neck and neck all the way down to the wire at the in these sprint graded stakes at Saratoga. So I as a horses, I'm going to be looking exclusively at the early speed here with long weekend and Japan. I slightly give the edge to long weekend, though. I mean, Japan looks very much, very much the part also. I kind of felt like this was a pretty easy race. Of throw two horses out there and you're probably going to get one, at least one, one of them home. But the way that I put it together was my A's were 2, 3, my B was 5, and my C was 4. I think this race is too short for Basin. I'm not really concerned about Basin being able to pick up pieces from anything. But even if these two horses go nuclear, I don't give any credence to these horses actually being able to get up and win it from the from the back. You know, a horse that I am a little bit intrigued with, and that's why I made it my lone B is Wonder Where Craig Is, and I love that name, by the way. But it's a horse that was running at Laurel and then comes up and just you know runs its eyeballs out and just gets nailed at the wire, disqualified, finished third, uh, in the Gold Fever at Belmont. Um, could be a live one that could be sneaky, and it could be enough to kind of heat it up a little bit more on the front end. And if that's the case, I'm a little bit more Yapon than I am long weekend. But yeah, pretty simple to me. 2, 3, B5, C4.
So Caleb, I got to ask you this question. I was talking to the guys before we went live, and I know there's a horse that you told me, and I quote, "You can never bet this horse ever again." And it was a Steve Asmussen horse. Was it Basin or was it a different horse?
Was it Gold Street?
Wasn't
It's
Gold
that I
Street.
can't or that you can't.
That I can't bet anymore.
Yeah, that's Basin.
Is it Basin? Because the
was.
first thing I told Mark is, I'm like, I kind of like Basin here, I think.
It was Basin because we talked about the Bluegrass stream like up 2 months ago or whatever. And like, shout out to Caleb that I singled Art Collector who was right. But yeah, like you said on stream, like, I can't use Basin. And then like the next day on Saturday, like you're in chat and it's like, I think I'm going to play Basin here. So don't do it.
I think I had everybody except for Art Collector. I think I had Swiss Skydiver and Rushy, Basin. I forgot who else I had in there. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I kind of like Basin here. But the thing is that, I don't know. Like when I was looking at it at first, I was like, well, maybe this gets stupid on the front end. And you get a horse to come from a little bit off the pace. But I don't know. Maybe there's not as much speed as I think. I mean, Wonder Where Craig has got some wheels. And what's really interesting about this race, though, is if the weather holds and this comes up wet. I mean, the amount of wet pedigree in this race is insane. I mean, you got Liam's Map on the 6th, Liam's Pride. You got Wonder Where Craig's is a Munnings. Uncle Mo on the 2 Japan, and then even Majestic Perfection. I mean, all these Tomlinsons are like 400 or above. Like it's nuts. We got a couple of like high 300s as well. So from a pace perspective, I kind of was going to be cheeky and use Basin. I think that this race starts and ends with Long Weekend. I know Long Weekend did come up short last time. Did run into a little bit of trouble. So maybe give him a little bit of a pass on that, but I think Long Weekend is gonna get out there early, and Saez is a great gate rider. He's gonna get Long Weekend out there quick. So I'm gonna go with Long Weekend. I had Basin as an A, but I think the logic is going to prevail here until at least Saturday when I decide that to bet Basin again. But I got I got Long Weekend as my lone A, and then I'm going to back it up with B's with the 1, the 2, and the 6. If I was playing a little bit, and I'm thinking of this strictly from a pick 3 perspective, at least for me, if I'm going to ABC a pick 3, or in my case AB a pick 3, I really don't want to have multiple A's very often, especially if I'm going to try and play like a 2B ticket or something stupid like that. So if I was playing something longer like a pick 5, I'd probably move your pawn up to an A as well, and not get stupid. But in this case, I'm going to take a stand. Out of the 2 I like better, I like Long Weekend a little bit better. So I'm going to have Long Weekend as my lone A here.
Yeah, so I'll start off my little rant here with the fact that it's insane that they're running both the Amsterdam and the Forego on the same freaking day. It's an absolute abomination. It pisses me off to no end. Amsterdam used to be at the beginning of the meet. You would get all of these 3-year-olds who were coming off from Derby Trail, and they could never get the distance, and they tried multiple times, and they'd drop them back to what they belonged in, and they would run them short. And now they've decided, hey, let's run on the same. And then the Forego obviously was the older sprinters, 7 furlong horses. Really blows that they decided to put these on the same day, and you can't have that horse that wins the Amsterdam dropping into the Forego, which is frustrating. But to me, this race, and I'll keep this short for Chase because he'll get grumpy if I talk for too long. 3 of these horses all came out of the Gold Fever.
Nope. Stretch it out.
3 of these horses all come out of the Gold Fever at Belmont. And I went back and watched that race. They went stupid fast early on the slop, and then they went real slow and kind of all head bobbed down the lane, and nobody made up any of the ground, and Liam's Pride got, up in the last 2 jumps. Liam's Pride came back and was absolutely embarrassed in the Jerkins. So I want no one out of the Gold Fever, quite honestly. I think I don't know if maybe one of these steps forward again, or maybe they just were too classy last out. But when they put him in the Jerkins, but I don't like anybody out of that Gold Fever. So for me, this race is pretty simple. Yapan is a lone A, and I have Basin as a lone C, and I really don't want anybody else in this race. I think Yapan was extremely impressive last out. He's, I think, a classier speed horse than Long Weekend is, who's coming out of that Gold Fever. I think Yapan puts him away early, and unless the 2 of them really hook up and go stupid, which we just haven't seen all meet, I think it sets up for Yapan. And then, I don't want to get too deep here, and try to reinvent the wheel.
Mark, could you repeat your A's and B's again?
Yapan is an A, Basin is a C.
All right, Caleb.
Man, it always makes me a little disappointed when I agree with Mark. But I have to admit, I see the race almost the same way. I watched the Gold Fever again. They, like he said, they blitzed early. They fell apart late. It was just a stumble fest down the lane late. And really no excuse for Long Weekend. He didn't get the lead, and he was just completely unable to pass like a horse in front of him as the 1-5 favorite. He's handled the off going before, never had a sealed track. That's the only possible excuse I can make for him, is he just didn't really care for the sealed surface at Belmont. Perhaps I do think he gets the lead here. I do think he'll be hell-bent on making the lead and is the naturally quickest horse. But I was not impressed with that race. 2 races back, he beat Echo Town, who actually came back to win the Jerkins, which is, the reason I'm not totally tossing Long Weekend. But my only A horse is the 2 Yapan. I watched this horse's last race in the allowance, and I remember thinking to myself, like, just visually, that's an impressive horse. Like, he ran a sub 12-second interior fraction of that race, and then just drew away late in the stretch and just put that field away. I mean, it wasn't a great field, but really, most of these horses aren't exiting great fields. So I just think, Asmussen has a way to get these sprinters to fire like few other people really can. And I think he has a really nice one here with Yapons. So that horse will be my lone A. And then I'm going to play probably Long Weekend and Basin as C. I know I just gave Josh shit for Basin, but I think the distance makes sense. I think they tried to make this horse into a Derby horse when he just clearly was not. And I don't really like Basin here. Like, I do think 7 would be better for him compared to 6. But he likes Saratoga. He does have wind sprinting. The cutback makes sense. He goes into the Pletcher barn, which is a little bit interesting here. But yeah, like, I'd lean Long Weekend over Basin if you're really gonna make me pick one or the other. But both of them are C's to me, with Yapon being my only A.
Yeah, the other upside to Basin is he does have a win in the slop across the track at just a touch further in the Hopeful, where he was very, very impressive with that Hopeful. So, he handles the surface when it's off going as well.
All right, let's take a look at chat real quick. Dennis loved the 2 horse on some random stream. He doesn't remember.
Hey, John Massey, I was going to say, wonder where Craig is. I had the same conversation with myself. It's the horse that maybe can take a step forward, but man, I just don't know if he's going to set the right trip. I just don't think he's good enough.
I wonder where Craig is. Craig's going to finish retired 4th. That's where Craig is. This is the best time to bet Basin. Yeah.
I kind of agree. I mean, I think Basin doesn't want to go as long as they were trying to stretch him out. I mean, obviously, they were trying to turn a Derby horse. Of course you do that. Everyone does that. That's what makes the Amsterdam a cool race, is you see these horses they tried to stretch out and turn into Derby horses and just couldn't get it done. Getting back to a distance is much more appropriate. And this is probably much more appropriate for him. This is probably what he wants to do. He's still got a bunch of question marks, but, at the right price, you pay to get him answered.
Interesting that that left Asmussen barn going to Pletcher. But all right, let's move on to race 8 here, the Forego. So Mark, you already went off on your rant about this, but Chase, I know you're time limited, so guess what? You get the floor again. What do you like here?
I'm going to take just the horses I think that look the top 2 on paper, kind of pace be damned, and murky pace setup be damned, and that's going to be Whitmore and also
Building suspense.
Oh yeah, I know. It was Whitmore and then Funny Guy as my 2 A's. I don't know who's going to go for the lead here. There's not a real clear, horse that wants to be out on the front. So I think maybe they end up packed together. And if that's the case, I really think it works out for Whitmore. Obviously likes the track. You get Saez up. Who knows? Maybe they send Whitmore with Saez up. Probably not. But the way he's been getting it out of the gate lately, you can't say it's not maybe somewhat of a possibility. But I feel like this is, with how murky this pace picture is, you really do have to spread out here. So I was 2-4 as A's, and then 5, 6, 8, 11. Some of those are kind of hunch horses, as people who I think might actually go out there and send, might try to be on the lead and get brave. And then the 3, 10 is C's. It's really hard when you don't know for sure that someone is actually going to go out there and want to go. Especially when you're looking at these horses like Whitmore, who are the need a pace to run at. But so that leaves me pretty just nose wide open in this race, in terms of I'm just going to throw in half the field and hope that I can make it alive on one ticket.
Yeah, I don't hate that, Chase, and I kind of see the race sort of similar to you. I think that's part of the reason why I tried to only have 1A in race 7. is because this race is tough. Like if anyone's, well, you guys were in the group chat earlier, but like I sent a message earlier saying like, hey, what's the one thing missing from this race? And like the answer is a speed horse, which is crazy considering it's a grade one. Yeah, it's a grade 1 sprint, the Forego, one of the best sprints of the year typically. And there's really no clear leader. It's such a weird race. So, kind of based on that, like you don't really know like which jock is going to see that and try to send, or try to get more aggressive than the form might indicate. But for me, I had 2 A's in this race. I picked what I thought was the best horse in the race, and then the horse that was probably the best speed in the race. The 2 Whitmore was the horse I think is the best horse. I don't think he needs much of an introduction or preamble. I mean, the horse is just super game, super easy to root for. Like you can't really knock him for his Vanderbilt. They went 23-2 to the quarter with Volatile on front. I mean, like they closed in something stupid like 11.2 seconds or 11-2. They closed to they came home. Like you can't close into 11-2 final furlong. I don't care how good you are. You just can't make up that kind of ground. So Whitmore is the horse to beat.
One thing I left out about Whitmore too is that, I mean, if we're going to be running on an off track, he's got a great off track record. You could easily take one of those second places and move it up to a win if he's not chasing Mitole the whole way. No one was catching Mitole on that Arkansas Derby day in that race on the I believe the Count Fleet. So that's another huge plus for Whitmore is going to be that off track form. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. It's a good point. So yeah, like Whitmore, probably don't need to spend much time talking about him. I'm sure we probably all have Whitmore as an A. Complexity is the other one I'm going to use as an A to 6. I think that he's probably the horse most likely to make the lead here. At least based on form, like he has probably the most natural early speed. He was a really highly thought of 2-year-old when he won the Champagne in pretty dominant fashion. And then they tried to stretch him out, and that didn't really work at all. Woody Stevens, I mean, he got caught up in that absolute just pace meltdown. Then came back and looked like the monster we all thought he was at Aqueduct. They sent him to Santa Anita, and he didn't pick up his feet again. And then last out, he was back to the good complexity. You don't really know what you're going to get with this horse, and I think that's probably why he's 4-1 on the morning line instead of about 2-1, which he would have been with a bit more consistency. He's had trouble kind of putting 2 good races together, but I'm hoping that second off the layoff here, second start as a 4-year-old, Chad may have had some time to get this one put in the right direction, and I think he's the best speed. So those are my 2 A's. I'm going to let Funny Guy beat me as one of the shorter prices on the board. It's going to be a flat race, but he kind of strikes me as the sprinter's version of Mr. Buff, who probably just I don't think he's good enough to do it against Open Company in a grade 1 after beating up on some state breds. But I'll probably let him beat me at 9-2. If he goes up to 8-1 or something, he becomes interesting. But at that price, he's way too short for me. So yeah, anyway, to round up the rest of my picks, I had 2 and 6 as A's. The 10 Mind Control is my lone B. You can kind of forgive his effort 2 back if you assume he didn't get over the surface. And then the last race, was the Vanderbilt, which nobody really ran much except for Volatile. So I'm willing to still give him one more shot here, although he really has to put it together because he's starting to tail off a little bit. And then he was my only B. And I had 3 C's in this race as well, which horses I think are going to be bombs that I'm going to try to get alive to, which is the 3, 5, and 7. So I don't want to spend a ton of time beating this point to death, but 3, I've been on Lexatonian for a while. If you don't watch West Coast racing, Collusion Illusion's probably one of the best sprinters on the West Coast right now. And Lexatonian was only beating nose after kind of blowing the start. 5 is going to probably be the longest shot on the board, but it's Kendrick, and this horse has some speed. I could see a world where this horse, just gets a little bit dumb on the front end, and nobody else goes with him. And then the 7's win. Probably is going to get overbet because he's one of those Derby horses that everyone recognizes the name. But he had a really bad trip last out. I mean, he was pinched at the start. He was off slow, tried to make a move into the turn, pinched again, nowhere to go, swung out wide, finally was kind of coming on late. I don't think he has enough pace to really run at here, which is why he's a C. But he's one that I think is, going to run better than he showed last time and could take a step forward.
Yeah, I think we've all talked Whitmore to death. Are you peacing out, Chase?
Yeah, I've got to help my wife quell this toddler insurrection that's going on at bedtime right now. So I'm dropping off. Have a good night, you guys.
Thanks, man.
See you,
Talk to you later.
Chase.
Yeah, so I think we've already talked quite a bit about Whitmore, and for me, he's my lone A in this race. He makes a ton of sense. I think he's the classiest horse in the race, and I think in a race where pace is a little suspect, I think he's a pretty adaptable horse. And as long as they don't go, 23-4 in an opening quarter, I think he sits a really nice trip behind whoever does end up, on the lead in this. Um, I don't know if people have heard me say it in Discord. I've kind of talked about it quite a bit, but Funny Guy is a homebred of the stable that I'm involved in, and we got some really bad advice from an agent, and they had him sell him, or had us sell him. So he's now won $500,000, and because of COVID, I can't be at Saratoga to watch one of our homebreds run in a freaking G1. To say I'm a little pissed off is putting it mildly. But I really like Funny Guy. My concern here is that he does need a bit of a pace setup in front of him. And I don't really know, with a murky pace like this, I can't make him any better than a B. So it's the sort of, my heart says one thing and my handicapper says another. So I'm making him a B in here. I wish him the best of luck. I do think it's really interesting that Rosario ended up here versus on Whitmore, who he's been on a couple of times. So I think that always tells you something when that sort of happens with a jock like Rosario, who does probably have choice here and does freelance quite a bit. And obviously with Funny Guy, he's gotten better every single race. Terra Nova's done a wonderful job with him, got him into really good form. And he's just been a monster as of late. So I wish him the best of luck, but all I can make him is a B. And the other horse, Caleb did mention Lex Antonian. I think there's a chance that Lex Antonian gets put on the lead here and gets really sent. In a race that's a little bit murky, he's a horse that does have some natural speed. They don't normally put him on the lead, but he doesn't win a lot either. And, maybe they go, hey, there's not a lot of pace in this. Jack Cistern is 2 for 6 at the meet. He's been running real well. Lascano and Cistern have been wonderful together. Lascano is very, good at being on the front end. I think there's a chance that maybe they get aggressive with him, put him on the front end, try to dictate pace here, and hope he gets real brave. So he ends up being a B for me. And the other B that I wanted in here was the Chad Fortin Hill, which no one has sort of mentioned in here. Arad stays up here. If he runs back to that last out figure at 7 furlongs, he makes a ton of sense in here. And assuming the track comes up wet, he's 1 for 1 on an off track, and ran a 90 Buyer in the back end of his 3-year-old season on a sloppy track down at Belmont. He's a horse that, again, that sort of probably that Whitmore style trip sits off the pace here a little bit, hopes to take over top of the lane. And I hope he gets forgotten a little. And, obviously they thought a lot of him. They paid $575,000 for him. OXO does tend to do that with some ones. They tend to throw money around at the auctions, but they've had some success doing it when they spend big. So I think Fortin Hill is kind of an interesting bit of an outsider here. Arad can stalk the pace. I think Arad from off the pace, that's how you want Arad on the dirt. And, he's one that kind of improved every race and has every right to take another step forward here as well. So those are my 3 Bs. 2 is the lone A, and then 3, 4, 11 as Bs.
2 as a lone A. You said 3, 4, 11 as Bs?
Yep.
Okay. Caleb, I messed yours up. You have 2 as a lone A as well?
No, I had 2 and 6 as A's. I had the 10 as a B, and then 3, 5, and 7 as C's.
Okay. Yeah. I had a bit of difficulty narrowing this one down, and I see you guys with Whitmore. I think I'm gonna be a little contrarian, I think, here, and I'm gonna have Whitmore. I'm gonna have Whitmore as my lone B. There are 4 horses that I really like in this race, and I don't know if I'm going to really go 4 wide here as A's, but I'm still kind of trying to formulate on what I really kind of how I kind of really see this shaping up from a pace perspective. You already talked about the 4 Funny Guy. I'm actually going to use Funny Guy as an A here. I think his figs match up pretty nice, and there was no pace last time, and this horse ended up winning. So I'm kind of seeing a similar pace setup here, where there's just not going to be much pace. And Funny Guy's probably going to sit a similar trip. And if he sits a similar trip, I think that he's going to be just a little bit more forward than Whitmore, and won't exactly outkick Whitmore, but I think we'll cross the line first here. Just because the horse is going to be a little bit more forwardly placed. You already talked about Lexatonian. Lexatonian is another horse that I'm going to want to use probably as an A here. I kind of agree with you, Mark. I think that although Lexatonian hasn't shown a ton of speed, or especially not last race at Del Mar, I think Lexatonian's got some early speed, and if Loscano goes, I think that's going to be his best shot at trying to steal this race. So I'm hoping Loscano sends, and that Sisterson decides that he needs to send Lexatonian here. So I'm going to use him also here as an A. We haven't talked about this horse yet, and I know I saw in chat someone mentioned that Irad gets off, but I think I'm going to be using Firenze Fire here as well. Firenze Fire has won quite a few races with relatively soft fractions. Now, I know we are going back as well to Jason Service days, so may have been aided by other outside forces other than pace. But the True North, was 6.5 furlongs, and they went, 22.8 or 22.8. So, I mean, he got a pretty soft setup there, and still was able to win that. Stan the Man came back out of that race to win. So I'm going to use Firenze Fire here just because I've seen Firenze Fire run well with similar pace setups as this. And I think that 7 furlongs hits him, square in the eyes. Although I think maybe 6 is probably his best distance. But I don't know. I just have a feeling that Firenze Fire, that this is going to set up decently for Firenze Fire here. And then the other horse that I think, Mark, you touched on briefly, but no one else has really talked about, is the 11 Fortin Hill. Fortin Hill's last fig was monstrous, and this is another one that has won a couple of sprint races with not very much pace in them, and more importantly, has won in the slop. So if this does come up very sloppy, I think Fortin Hill is going to be a really, really good choice, and hopefully we get, with some of the names in this race, hopefully we get relatively close to the morning line. I mean, I think at 4 or 5 to 1, Fortin Hill is going to present a lot of value here in this race. I think of the horses in this race, I think Fortin Hill might be the kind of like the value pick, especially if you get 5 or 6 to 1. I don't think you're going to get that. I think there's going to be some wise guy money on this horse, and so I think that you'll probably get maybe 9 to 2, 4 to 1, 7 to 2, something like that. But I do really like Fortin Hill, and if Fortin Hill stays anywhere close to the morning line, I think that's going to be a my top choice there. So I got 3, 4, 8, and 11 as A-ishes, and I got the 2 as my lone B here.
Yeah, I don't want to beat you guys too much up on your 11 because you probably will get 5 to 1, but he's got a win over a sloppy track, but he was entered as an MTO in a 3-horse field at 2 to 5. I'm not going to probably write home about that and praise his sloppy form for that one race personally. I don't think there's been any winners going 7 furlongs outside of the 7 post. So I think that draw could be tough for a horse like him that kind of wants to be in that second flight of horses. Mine gets stuck kind of wide, but it's mostly just kind of why I was against him. He certainly wouldn't surprise me if he won. But there's probably just others that I think are more interesting that are going to be better prices.
Yeah, I was going to say you had talked about complexity, and that's a horse that I was against specifically because he's one of those types that every time he's stepped up versus graded company, he's run up the track. Breeders' Cup Juvenile, the Woody Stevens, and the Malibu, he hasn't run well in any of those races. Now, when you put him into optional company, he does really well. So he has the pedigree that says he'd really like an off track. So if this does come up wet, he's definitely a horse you have to include in some way, shape, or form. But he just seems to be a horse that to me has been a little bit exposed and probably takes way too much money in here for a horse that I feel like has been exposed. He's 4-1 on the morning line. He may be 4-1 or even shorter on a horse I feel's been exposed, and where's that upside? So he probably comes back and bites me in the ass. It normally does when I beat up a horse like that. But he was the one that I felt was sort of a fade of the shorter price horses. But to me, in the same breath, if I can get 3-1 on Whitmore, that's very win bettable for me, and probably very large win bettable, as I did when he ran at Oaklawn.
Luke in chat mentions that it's interesting that Jack enters 2 here. And the second of his entries is the horse we didn't talk about, the one Everfast, who God, if only he would have gotten up in that stupid blame. That would have been such a good weekend. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's gonna want to come. He needs more pace. I think Everfast is a nice horse, but I mean, there's no pace here. And I think that Everfast absolutely would need a ton of pace to run anything close to a winning race here. So
yeah, like the one thing I guess I'd say about Everfast, that I don't know if the horse is good enough to win, probably not. But since he went to the Sisterson barn and he put the blinkers on this horse in his last 4 starts, he has shown more speed. He's not that kind of dead closer that he used to be, back in his Preakness run or whatever else. Last time he didn't have a whole lot of speed, to work with, but he kind of had that field over a barrel. So I don't think he's going to be last, going into the turn, but the rail draw plus, Rosario getting off and just the combination of factors kind of makes him a little bit tough for me to like here. But he's a horse that I wouldn't be surprised if he hits the board, but putting him on top's a little bit tough for me.
I was gonna say, is this the first time you've ever not picked Everfast? He's sort of like one of those horses that we're gonna have to do the thing that with the Asmussen horse for Josh. We're gonna have to be like, you need a breakup letter, or you need to,
Dude,
somebody needs.
All I know is that I just put Everfast into the winner's circle because I believe I was on stream. What was this, like 4 weeks ago? And you're like, oh, talking about Kendrick beating you, like, oh, this Kendrick's gonna beat me one time this week, and this meet. I'm like, dude, Kendrick's never gonna beat me, dude, because I'm always gonna have him. And literally, I don't think I've had Kendrick. I think I've had Kendrick once when he ran that turf horse. That's in race 3. That's the only time I've bet him to win. Don Juan Kitten, when I had Kendrick in that race, but his other 3 wins, I have not had him, and he's broken up all my tickets.
It's almost like somebody pinged you today and told you, hey, this one horse in the last race is the most Josh horse I've ever seen. It's Kendrick on a horse that looks like.
Oh, I had that one too. I forgot. I'm looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, I had that one. Yeah. I cashed that ticket, but yeah, it was just like, every other freaking Kendrick dude just come out of left field and just mess me up. All right, let's move on. Well, let's double check chat again. Keep Pounding says this is the first time Caleb hasn't picked Everfast. Let's see. And John likes True Timber. I've liked True Timber in a couple of other races. Oh God, it's another freaking Kendrick horse. God damn it.
And there's a chance he makes the lead too.
Yeah. Probably True Timber is the fact that I've tried to get behind him for the past about, I don't know, 15 starts, and he just burns money. Does he hit the board? Yeah, very well could. He just never wins. He's 4 for 25 lifetime. It's just that type that you wanna, and boy, it looks great on paper, and it just never quite pans out that way.
Yeah, like both of his like cigar miles that he's run have been just like really freaking good, and like that's it. It's like he only wants to run the cigar mile. That's it. It's the only race.
Yeah, 1 turn mile is obviously a stick, you would think that they would try to run him at like a 7 furlong race here, Yeah, so maybe.
Luke is asking about mind control. That's a Caleb horse right there. Caleb loves mind control.
I love mind control. And like I said, he's my only B in this race. Like I said, he likes Saratoga. He can handle pretty much any kind of track. Like I said, I'm drawing a line through the Vanderbilt because I don't think you can learn anything about that race. You had who's probably the best sprinter in the country on a ridiculously slow opening quarter. 23-2 going 6 furlongs. I mean, that's like maiden claimer speed, even slower. They're just not going to catch him. They came home in 11-2, so they pretty much just ran in place. I don't really fault it. I draw nothing from that race, so I kind of just ignore it. And then if you say the Carter, he just didn't care for the sloppy track that day. It wasn't sealed, and he just didn't really get over it. Yeah, I mean, there's a risk he catches an off track again today, and it doesn't really benefit him. But other than that, any of his races prior to that make a lot of sense here. So I still like mind control here. I would take him over like a Fortin Hill or somebody like that, or a Frenzy Fire.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, mind control is a horse I need somewhere. I keep forgetting how much he likes Saratoga, and and he won the freaking Jerkins last year. So he's classy. He likes to win. He likes to win at Saratoga. Johnny V stays. Yeah, there's a lot to like there, and this is also the kind of horse that probably gets lost on the board, and you get more like 10-1. So there's probably a ton of value if you can use mind control somewhere.
I'm typing in. Chase was nice enough to send us his picks here to finish up his grid. So I'm just typing in his picks for the Sword Dancer here while we move it in.
Add mind control as a B for me.
Who's at the 10?
Yeah, 3, 4, 10, 11 is Bs.
It's going to be some expensive pick 3s here.
Not really.
All right, so we're going to move on to race 9, the Grade 1 Caleb Stakes. We're going 1.5 miles on the inner turf, and obviously this is the Sword Dancer. Man, I can't wait. Who was it? I think David Aragona said something like, I think it was David Aragona was something like, "Wow, can't wait to see Channel Maker and Sadler's Joy face off again." This is didn't we just see this race? This is like the same field, isn't it? Is the Bowling Green?
It's pretty much. It's the same Grade 1 marathon field that you've probably been seeing for the last 2 years that isn't the Breeders' Cup.
This is just crazy. So I got Chase's picks up here. He likes the 2 and 3 as A's. Who's that? He likes Marzo again and Aquaphobia as A's. 7, 8 as B's. So Pedro Cara and Sadler's Joy. And he's got Corelli as a C. That's funny. He doesn't have the winner anywhere on his ticket. I am going back, I think, to the Cross Border well here. I think that this is going to set up nicely again for Cross Border. He has his rabbit Marzo entered into this race, so I think that this is once again Mike Maker trying to tag team this, that's kind of funny. I wonder, because Three Diamonds Farm owns both of these horses, so so I think that Cross Border was was really game in that last race. I know he got rightfully put up, in my opinion, not to the opinion of most people, in that Bowling Green. I really still like Cross Border here. He is going to be an A for me. I think this is too short for Sadler's Joy. The 3 that extra actually this is longer than 3/8. I forgot.
Yeah, this is a half. This is longer than last time.
I thought it was a 3/4, not 3/8. Shit,
See,
this is longer for Sadler's Joy.
I like Cross Border more here versus Sadler's Joy, just for the fact that Cross Border was getting to Sadler's Joy, and the reason he was taken down is Sadler's Joy came in about 6 passes trying to cut him off and hurt him to the inside to prevent him from going by. Like, Cross Border was pulling on him late.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like. I think, like I said, I like Cross Border here. Um, I'm gonna stick with that. I don't want anything to do with Channel Maker. I think I'll use Sadler's Joy as a B, but I mean, I just like you can't keep taking these short prices on Sadler's Joy. Like that's the thing, is that like if Sadler's Joy was 4-1, 5-1, and not going off as your like 2-1 favorite, I'd be a little more interested. But it's just like, why are you taking such a short price on a loser horse? Like I don't understand. Um, Cross Border is probably going to be a little bit shorter. He's 3-1 on the morning line. We'll probably see less than that. But let me pull up my real form over here on this side. I mean, the only other horse I think that has run comparable figs that could be interesting here is going to be the 2 here, Aquaphobia, which is another Mike Maker horse. So I don't know what the heck is going on here. Mike Maker's got is doing the Chad Brown. He's probably got 2 horses that legitimately win this race. And I'm gonna have both of them as A's. So I'm gonna have the 2 and the 6 as A's, and I'm gonna have the 8 as a B to close out my pick 3.
I mean, isn't Marzo in here with Santana up just a rabbit for Aquaphobia to ensure a good pace and set Aquaphobia up? Like, isn't that the only way you look at this?
I mean, I think so. I mean, that's exactly what happened last race. You know.
Yeah, except for Aquaphobia wasn't in the Bowling Green, so Aquaphobia is now in this race. Aquaphobia went to the United Nations, where the world's wonkiest pace setup and stupidest rides by about 3 different jockeys allowed Aquaphobia to suck up and win a race. I'm massively against Aquaphobia here. I just don't like the horse at all. I've never liked the horse forever. It's just I don't like Aquaphobia here in the absolute the least. I think I'm sort of similar to Josh here. I think Cross Border is probably your most likely winner on sort of what he's done at Saratoga. The horse is 5 for 5 at the track, loves this inner turf course. And I think this trip, if you watch the horse sort of rounding into form or rounding, as the horses get older, they tend to be able to get a little bit more distance. This one last race was catching Sadler's Joy late. And if Sadler's Joy hadn't herded Cross Border would have gone rolling by. And obviously, Sadler's Joy was DQ'd there. So I think Cross Border has to be an A for me in here. Corelli in the last out, I think with a better ride wins that race. I don't know what Santino was doing, or I don't know if he had orders, but it was just a really weirdly run version of the United Nations if you go back and watch that race. And the horse I'm most excited about in this race is the 7, Pedro Cara. Graham Motion has been super cold, so far at this meet. He's 2 for 25 on the meet, 8%. But if you look at this horse's one time on Lasix in that Jockey Club Derby Invitational down at Belmont at this trip, that horse at a massive price went absolutely lights out. The horse was what? 38 to 1 or would have paid $38, so whatever, $17, 17 to 1, something like that. It was a massive price, and almost ended up pulling that off by just a nose. And I remember betting that race because it was sort of the I think Spanish Mission who won was the other Euro shipper that I didn't have, and I did have Pedro Cara. If you look at that horse's the last time it ran on Lasix, if you look at it in time form figures, it's a horse that literally jumped up 10 points in time form on getting on Lasix. So you're getting the horse back to the States here. You're getting that trip that it probably wants, and you're getting it back on Lasix again. So I think, if Pedro Cara gets a little lost on the board and you get that sort of 10 to 1 range, I think this horse is super win bettable, and it's one I'm extremely interested to see here. Horse won G1s, I think, in both Spain and France at longer. So classy horse, and very interesting to see here. And the other horse I want a tiny, tiny bit of as a C is the 1 Highland Sky. Always like this horse. Always looks right on figures. Hates winning. But as a C, eventually he's got to win, right? Like he's eventually got to win one. So I'll spend the $4 C ticket and buy him as a C.
All right. So what do you got here, Mark?
I am 5, 6, 7 as A's, and then I have the 1 as a C.
So like I always hate doing these things because I always feel like some kind of like just like really, really triggering race comes back to mind. And in this case, fucking Parrot, how did he not hold on? Like how? I have no idea how the fucking horse did not hold on in those soft fractions. Goodness gracious. Caleb, what do you got?
I need a drink first. Hold on.
Oh, by the way, Mark, what do you got there? We didn't go through our drinks. I assumed oh the
Yeah, it's little Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Select. This is a New Hampshire liquor, what a group, store pick that I picked up that is absolutely phenomenal. Josh was telling me to grab some of this Jack Daniel Single Barrel Select stuff, and man, is it ever good. I'm extremely impressed at it. And, I mean, it's not cheap, but price for your value for quality for price, however you want to rate it. It's very, very good stuff. And I am very impressed. The next time I'm over in New Hampshire, I'm going to grab a few more.
Yeah, it's good stuff, dude. I like it. I think it's a really, really smooth drink. And I noticed that you just bought that bottle last week.
Yeah, about last week. Yeah, that's yeah. No, it's very good, and it's one of those ones that you get the cool little store pick with its little selections, and each barrel has its own different tasting notes, and it's fun to sort of get a couple and try them and play around.
Yeah, I was drinking the bottle that you sent me, Mark. The E.H. Taylor rye. I still have a bit of that. That was my first drink, and then I had a little Sazerac rye here, a little baby Saz.
That Saz has become impossible to find around me. I don't know about you guys, but it just completely gone off stores.
Nope, I can find it pretty regularly, so we can make that happen.
Out of my ears down here.
You can or can't find it?
Oh, I can. I think it's local to New Orleans, so it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's like $30. It's affordable. It's good. And then I picked this up because it was on sale. I've had it before. The High West Double Rye. I think I paid like $24 or $25 for it. It's normally like a $30 bottle, so that was nice.
Nice little rye night. Yeah, I started with one of the Polka Dot Taylor specials. He sent over to me some Elmer T. Lee. So
nice.
Some nice stuff there. Everything he sent over has been so good, so definitely owe him one for that. And then afterwards, I switched to Eagle Rare.
The giant bottle.
The giant bottle. All right,
so Caleb, you are you
believe it or not
for this?
I actually hate this race more than I normally hate these races. And I know you might not believe it, but I really hate this race because, like, first off, I'm going to give you A, B's, and C's, but I'm so spread that I'm probably not actually going to play a pick 3 on this sequence because I need to spread too much unless I just like hard single to Japan in that the 3-year-old race, Amsterdam. Thank you. So yeah. Like for me, like you already know that I'm not going to use one of these mules like Channel Maker or Sadler's Flop or anything else. So yeah, I'm not interested in either of those. Cross Border is kind of the polarizing horse for me because he's 5 for 5 at Saratoga, and I love a horse for course angle. The horse loves to win, but I guess I have a different take from Mark. Rewatching the Bowling Green a couple times, I think Sadler's Joy was going by. Watching that replay, like, yeah, he lugged in and, probably fouled Cross Border a little bit. I mean, was the DQ warranted? Like some people say yes, some say no. I was dead already, so I don't really care. I probably think it shouldn't have changed, but I can see why they took it down. It was enough, and close enough margin and enough of a foul to where I could see why they took him down. But regardless of the foul, I thought Sadler's Joy was going by. And that was going 1 mile and 3/8, where I think he's probably, better going longer, kind of like Josh said. I mean, he's one of these few horses that just always keeps coming. And, Cross Border, is 0 for 2 at 1.5 miles. Like, pedigree, English Channel suggests like, it should be fine enough. But, when he tried 1.5 miles at Gulfstream last time, he lost to Spooky Channel. And then prior to that, he lost to Arklo's Channel Maker and Sadler's Joys. So, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to make Cross Border an A based on the fact that I think he should have probably lost that last race, but he's going to get bet as if he actually won it. And then, I guess he got the purse money, but I don't think he was really the best horse that day. Beyond that, what makes me hate this race more than normal is I think the United Nations was a dreadful race. I kind of agree with Mark. The horses that were like 1, 2, and 4 at the first call finished like 2, 1, and 3. I mean, there was like no passing done whatsoever that day. And the horse that ran out of the money was 48-1. So it was a really tough, field to make sense out of. I think, Mark mentioned the Aquaphobia tripped out, and I didn't remember it that way. I went back and watched it, and he really kind of did. I mean, he saved all the ground on the fence, close up to a pretty slow pace, and then just kind of tipped out and went on by. Kind of based on that and the fact that I think he's going to take money off of that, I'm going to fade him a little bit. I'm probably not going to totally toss him, but I am going to fade him. So really kind of by process of elimination, that leaves me with the other United Nations horse, the 5, Corelli, and then the new shooter, the 7, Pedro Cara, as both of my A's. I think Corelli probably ran a better race than Aquaphobia. I didn't like the ride. He was about 2 or 3 wide going into all the turns, which, when you're talking a length and a half margin, that makes a difference. My biggest issue with him, I love Rosario getting up, but my big issue with him is that the Jonathan Thomas barn has been very cold. I mean, he's a 20% trainer on the year, but he must be like 40% at Tampa on the winter because he's been terrible at Saratoga.
Although, he's had 6 of 13 in the money. So it's not like his horses have been running horrible. They just haven't been winning as much as you'd like.
Yeah, no, you're right. I do wonder, what are some of these field sizes? You don't get typically 10 or 12 horse fields in these long turf races. So, running third in a 6 or 7 horse field isn't, really saying a ton to me. But nevertheless, I get your point and you're right. I mean, they're still firing to some extent. But yeah, Corelli is the horse out of the United Nations that I guess that I want. If Parrott was here, I would actually use him as probably one of the more clear-cut speed horses. But I guess I'll give Corelli the nod here, coming in third off the way off. Second time Lasix, gets used to that. Second time with the blinkers here and a jock upgrade. I'll take a shot with Corelli and then the new shooter. I typically always go for a new shooter in these turf marathons because I hate the typical horses that normally show up in them. Pedro Cara is, looks maybe a tiny bit too slow, but he ran a good race in his one start in the States. Just missed at odds of almost 40-1. Lasix goes back on here, and some of the horses he was running up against over in Qatar were pretty nice horses. I mean, French King is I think a multiple, Group 2, Group 3 winner in Germany and Group 1 placed in France. Bangkok 2 back is a nice horse in his own right. So I think this is a horse that, might surprise a few people. He's not coming out of like, some of your more high profile European courses. He's not coming from Longchamp or Chantilly or Ascot. So people may not really think as highly as him as they would a typical shipper, but I do think that he is coming into this field with some relative back class and could be one of the new shooters I like. So yeah, I had the 5 and the 7 as my A's. And then I'm using the 2 and the 6 as my B's. And that's all I'm going to have.
Okay, so on cross-border, on the DQ, you don't think that Sadler's Joy coming across 6 paths and ramming him 5 times in the stretch had anything to do with cross-border not going by? Because that's kind of how I saw it. I saw his cross-border was going by, and I don't want to necessarily say JJ did it intentionally, but I don't think it was non-intentional either. I think he was herded and very much bumped multiple times in the stretch, and that's why he didn't go by. To me, it looks like Crossborder was the better horse. I think he goes by if they both hold a straight line on the stretch.
Yeah, I didn't see it that way. I thought Sadler's Joy was the best horse. Yeah, if you look, they put Sadler's Joy 4th, not end. So yeah, he did bump Crossborder, but I think really the bigger issue was like fucking Marzo, whoever it was that ended up like running 4th and then getting moved up to 3rd, Channelmaker, I guess it was, who kind of had to steady late. I think he was really impacted more than Crossborder was from that race. And I think Crossborder just kind of was the beneficiary of the, of the contact and happened to be, the best second place horse. But it's kind of one of those instances similar to the turf sprint at Saratoga a couple of weeks ago that Imprimis fouled somebody and got placed, 3rd, and the second place horse was never going to really win that race, but ended up getting put up. To me, Cross Border was probably going to run second anyway, but I thought Sadler's Joy had his number that day.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm kind of just looking back. They didn't run these races this year, did they, Mark? These the Turf Triple or whatever, did they?
The Turf Tiara? No, they did not.
Yeah.
They ran them at Belmont, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, they ran them. Did they run them all at Belmont?
Yeah, well, because they were $1 million races last year.
Oh, that's not the Turf Tiara. The Turf Tiara is for the fillies, for 3-year-old.
Yeah, it's a Turf Triple or whatever.
Yeah, there's that one. Those I think are fall races, aren't they? They're for the Belmont Championship.
Are fall races. Yeah.
Because
I was gonna say, so this that Belmont race that Pedro Cara came second in, got a 98 buyer for it. 3 really useful horses. I mean, Spanish Mission came out of that race, won that race. Finished second in a Group 3 at Sandown, and then won just another stakes race there. But the third place horse looks like won a Group 2.
San Alberto is a good.
Yeah, San Alberto. Yeah, exactly. And so all the American horses in there are garbage, like a Thread of Blue, Henley's Joy, Digital Age. Those are all garbage horses, but the shippers that came in all seem to be pretty good. I mean, you don't get Tony Picone aboard, so you're getting a little bit of you're getting John Velasquez, which, I mean, I think Tony Picone, I think he's at Hong Kong now. And if we've seen what those turf riders at Hong Kong do against against the American turf racers, shout out to Umberto Rispoli for making us lots of money. I don't know if the jock downgrade is going to do much here, but Pedro Cara is actually a little interesting here to me, so I think I'm going to add him in as a B as well.
So Pedro Cara ran a 1:21 time form fig in that race, and that's only within 2 or 3 points of the highest of anyone in this field. So on time form,
as a 3-year-old.
As a 3-year-old, yeah, and to me, I think I've been playing around. Like I've said earlier, I've been playing around with time form figs, and they do use pace as an indicator, of figure. They gets moved around based on pace of the race, and I found them do pretty darn good on turf. And if you like them on turf, man, that move forward of an extra year on Pedro Cara. And that horse obviously freaked and ran, a 20-point, jumped up 20 points off the previous best, getting Lasix for the first time. So there's a lot of things to like on that horse that's 10-1 on the morning line.
All right, so it looks like Caleb is the only person with a reasonable ticket. So if you guys do want to play any of these tickets, I would look at Caleb's. His seems to make sense. The rest of us is
a cheap one in there.
What, 2, 2, 5, 6, 7?
I'm 1 by 1 by 3 is my A's. How's that? Yeah. How's this not the reasonable? My single B is 1 by 4 by 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe I'm the unreasonable one with the 4 A's in the 8th race. I'll have to look at it.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I don't know that I really want to play this pick 3 because I feel like I need to spread too much, and it doesn't surprise me if Chalk wins the first 2 first 2 legs, and then a horse like Aquaphobia or Cross Border go off at co-favorite and win the 3rd leg, and this thing pays $20. So it wouldn't surprise me if that happens. So it's not a sequence I'm really going to look to attack from a pick 3 perspective.
Yeah, I'll take a look out in the works in the last 2 races and see if I can turn this to a pick 5 is probably would be my thought. I feel like I like my A's here. So if I can stretch this out a race or 2, it allows me a little calamity factor and then I can get paid.
Yeah. Luke says that he thinks that the maiden race afterwards is a little interesting. I'm kind of just paging through to see if there's anything really sticks out. Oh, there's a Chad Firster here.
Yeah, that always Karina. That's been a hype horse, that 3 Chimneys homebred. And Jouster finally makes it to the races as well, who was another fairly big money purchase. And I remember when that one went, that fast up ticket dipped in August. I think I was actually there the night that horse was purchased. So that horse was pretty well talked about.
Isn't
Who
it?
the hell is always Karina related to?
Oh, Sweet Baby J. Let me take a look
It's
at.
gotta be like fucking.
Let me take a look at Formulator.
Oh, it's Structor. That's weird.
Structor.
The dam's a full sister to More Than Real, who won the Phillies turf. Second dam is Miss Seffens. Yeah, I mean that horse is pretty. I'm trying to figure who else.
Yeah, like if you think of DPI, Josh, like it's really related to the money that the horses of that age made in that year. So they're only comparing.
Oh, yeah, Instructor
So
had a
more-
huge
one of Breeders'
2-year-old.
Cup
Yeah.
race, so it kind of makes sense.
I was gonna say also the, but I mean, doesn't I don't know. My thought with it was sort of like a jouster is doesn't that horse really want turf? The one that's also sort of interesting in here that also may really want turf is Zena Larab, I think is how you would say it, the Shadwell horse, who's $1 million purchase. So at the Keeneland September sale, who I don't remember why this one was $1 million. I don't really remember.
Like, am I crazy? Isn't the 5 horse, the Zainer Lorab, isn't it turf pedigree?
Oh, that's very turf pedigree,
Yeah.
but the other Chad is as well, arguably. I mean, there's this whole thing of dirt's where the money's at, so you try to run them on dirt first, and if they can't handle dirt, then you throw them on turf.
You know who I really like in this race?
Who's Kendrick?
Kendrick.
No, I like the 1.
I don't hate the one.
Look at this 1, baby. Spitestown on top, Scat Daddy on bottom. If this thing comes out wet, this thing, I mean, that's about as good as you're gonna get there on wet pedigree, and sprinting, and those that work pattern. I don't know, man. Romans is gonna send this one.
How about
I'd love to have seen a Saez or somebody up though who kind of rides for Romans sometimes. Cancel's.
How about either of the 2 outside horses if it comes up wet? Splendid Tie, got Heartspun on top, Empire Maker. That's nice, nice wet ped. And then Rookery, the Heartspun over the Bernardini. Both of those have every right to move forward, and they make some sense if it does come up wet. And quite honestly, I think this is one of those races, just looking at it real quick, where you identify, okay, who are the turf horses, and then you move them to B's or C's, and you try to find the actual dirt horses who maybe the 2, outside horses.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? The best horses look like the horses that probably want turf, so it's interesting. I'm kind of with Josh's 1, I think.
Yeah, I like that 1 quite a bit too.
All right, all we need is, where's Kendrick? Is Kendrick on any of these horses? Okay, so all we need is Cancel to get tossed in the race, and then Kendrick gets aboard for Dale Romans. I mean, that's a speed on speed. It's crackling speed right there. All right.
Take a page out of Dennis's first time starter book. Horse only sold for $30,000, as a yearling, and going for $100,000 stud fee. Sire averaging over $215,000 per foal. So it clearly wasn't really turning heads at the 2-year-old or at the yearling sale. So just something to think about.
Yeah, the thing is though, and this is like, I've been thinking about this more and more, specifically with maiden races. Like, these 2-year-old maiden races are so short that cheaper horses often still do well in them because people don't pay for sprint breeding. People pay for distance and classic distance rebreeding. Mark, don't give me that face. Everybody pays for that longer breeding.
I think people, if you look at what historically has done well at sales, it's been win early has been what people have paid money for. So I don't know if I would say sprint versus route. There's a lot of pedigrees that to me are very sprinty that take tons of money at auction. My issue I would look at with the 1 would be that, the Romans barn is 11 for 100. So they're 11% with a 91-cent ROI over the past 5 years with juvenile debut runners and maiden special weight dirt sprints. I don't like a horse getting the 1 post. I realize it's not 5.5, it's 6. It's a little better, but the 1 post for a maiden, for a horse first time out, very intimidating having that rail right there. I would rather have a horse that's a little more outside. maybe your one's fine. You know, I mean, I don't hate the horse, but I would look for, and again, you know, for the Dennis angle, when you see a horse that's got a $70,000 stud fee that sells for $30K, that to me implies that not necessarily something's wrong, but that the horse was just not that impressive, and somebody like Romans is going to give them a shot, you know, in a maiden special weight. And also, Romans hasn't had a horse at the board yet at Saratoga this meet.
Romans doesn't exactly have a great barn this year, I don't think. So that doesn't really surprise me. He's only 11% on the year. Normally he cleans up at Churchill, and I don't think he had that great of a Churchill meet either. So
yeah, I think I just want to get around all the expensive horses here. To tell you the truth, you know, I mean, the 2, the 3, and the 5 were all big money horses that all pretty arguably are. Maybe the 2 wants dirt, but the 3 and the 5 seem like those are pretty turfy pedigrees to me.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the 2, and especially if the 3 and the 5 take money, but like the 3, I mean, give me a freaking break. I can't believe they're trying. I mean, I guess maybe there's no other races to try this horse, but I don't know.
I would think of the 5's even more turfy, but
Yeah. I get the feeling this is one of those races where all these flashy pedigrees and big sales tag horses take all the money, and then a horse that's making like a second time out or third time out horse for like less sexy connections wins it 8 or 10-1.
I was gonna say that the horse that I would probably put on top would be the 9 Rickery, who's got, you know, hard spun over Bernardini. That's an actual dirt pedigree. You know, it can run on turf, but is definitely a dirt pedigree. And Catalano's been on fire at Saratoga this year. He's 50% in the money, 2-6, you know, 2 winners off 6 starters, and he's decent maiden seconds. Lascano gets up here. That to me, that horse makes a ton of sense, and that's a horse I would need to have as an A.
I kind of like the 7 of the horses that have run.
I'd probably go with the 6.
For that run happy bonus. Chat's talking about the run happy bonus.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Gargan isn't really known for getting his 2-year-olds, you know, to fire huge in their debut. Like I'm seeing 11% with 2-year-old first-time starters in maiden special weight. 2-year-old second-time starters in maiden special weight, 30% with a $2.62 ROI. Big jump up here. I mean, this horse probably got a good little education in that first race. You know, Franco stays on, and you know, I don't love this horse, but it's more of a fact that I think the firsters are probably not in the right spot here. And of the horses that have outs, I guess I'd lean to the 6.
Yeah, it is an interesting race. So thank you for pointing that one out there. Luke. Yeah, I think we've talked these stakes races to death here. Mark, I know you'll probably have a video up for this. I'm sure you're going to pick different races, because I think I kind of agree with Caleb. It's kind of hard to make a solid pick 3 out of these races. I might just pick a race or pick a horse in race 8 to kind of key around and maybe play something skinny. Or I might just stay spreading there if I can get skinny elsewhere and play like the pick 5 or something like that. But yeah, it is a kind of tough little sequence there, especially with that 8th race.
Yeah, I couldn't get a video up today because of the weather changes. There's so many late scratches and so much movement happening. It's just really hard to get your head around it, you know, beforehand. So I didn't end up getting that up today, but I will try to get something up for tomorrow for the card. Really like the Friday action, and I just feel like I'm tipping my hat a little bit with the Discord tournament going on.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us for our boy Chase. Shout out to childcare, and Caleb, Mark, Josh. We will catch you guys later.